What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to this episode of the Live Button Podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in, Dad the Gamer, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. It is great to have you guys here, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you may be. Thank you so much. We are going to be getting into learning new skills as streamers. What you need to do, what skills we think you need to learn, what skills we think are essential for content creation, and overall, what we have learned in our grouping of almost 4 years of streaming as a total in our content creation journey. So, Dad, what are some content creation things that you have had to learn over the last X, Y, or Z years that have
Man,
helped you get to where you're at, man?
I'll tell you this much. Streaming, live streaming, there's so many skills that that I don't want to say you need to learn, but you will learn over the course of
Mhm.
time. It is insane. So, I mean, when I first started streaming, I'm a pretty big tech guy. I understand technology. It comes very easy to me, right? But let me
Sure.
tell you something. When I picked up live streaming, it was a different form of technology. I mean, you're talking about cameras now, right? Lighting, right? Like this took me a long time to get to this point. For those that are maybe not on YouTube and they haven't seen the actual podcast, but like I think where we have some good lighting. And
Mhm.
but this took me a long time. If you go look at my first broadcast, my lighting was terrible, absolutely terrible. And just through looking at other creators, other streamers, and watching YouTube channels, figuring out what good lighting is, it finally got to the point where it is now, right? So, photography. I didn't know anything about exposure. I didn't know anything about
Sure.
all the different things with the camera, right? Other than like megapixels and 1080p, right? I didn't know
Mhm.
anything else about white balance, exposure. Once again, I just went to YouTube and kind of like figure some stuff out and watch YouTube to make sure my camera looks good, my face looks good. So there are so many skills that you learn over the course of time. And I stress all the time. For me, still to this day, I will still sit down on my computer, pop up with YouTube, and I will just watch a random video on cinematography and just figuring out what works for real actual video editors. I follow
Mhm.
so many professional video editors who do it for a living and who give really good tips and advice on Adobe Premiere. Once again, I just open up YouTube and I'm like, you know what, I haven't learned this yet in Adobe Premiere. Let me learn this. So always continue to evolve your skills, because I promise you're never perfected it unless you're paying somebody to do all this stuff for you, which, let's be
Yep.
real, most people are not. You need to learn.
No.
You need to learn this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And dude, I couldn't agree more. And I think the biggest thing is understanding when you get into content creation that you know nothing. You have no idea what you're doing.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
for example, you said you were really good with tech. I was not and am not. I built a PC. I have no idea what's inside of it. Like, I have no idea anything tech related. If it goes wrong with my stream, I'm like, I guess it's over. I guess this is where my streaming career ends. Like, but Dad hit it right on the head. He's like, if you don't know something, go to YouTube and figure it out. Like, go to YouTube,
YouTube
learn a
University is
skill.
real.
Dude, it is absolutely essential to content creation. Like, and the deeper you get into content creation, the more you need to learn and the more skills you need to attain to be able to do it well. Like, I follow people on YouTube that are speech professionals that will teach you how to talk, that will teach you how to keep a conversation going, that will teach you how to be interesting. Like, all of streaming is trying to be interesting while you're entertaining a chat, while you're talking to people. Like, that is one of the biggest skills to have in content creation. And if you don't know how to do it, you're going to struggle really, really bad in the long run. So find people who know how to do it. Find people who have the skills that you want, talk to them, reach out to them, watch a YouTube video about it, and become a ever present and forever learner, because that's the only way that you're going to continue to move forward one step at a time in this freakishly long journey, man.
Yeah, it's I mean, you mentioned the talking thing. I mean, for me, I feel like, prior to live streaming that I could talk up to a certain point, but now that
Sure.
I'm in live streaming and it gets to a point where in my stream, if I haven't talked or said something honestly within like 10 seconds, I almost feel uncomfortable now. It gets to the point where I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, like I don't like this. You know what I'm saying? Like I need to say something, do something to keep people entertained, because that's what separates a good streamer, 'cause I'm gonna be real, people aren't in my stream for my gameplay. People are not going
Dude,
to
me
Dad the
neither.
Gamer stream to say, "Oh my God, I have to watch these insane plays from Dad the Gamer." Like, I
Sure.
know I'm not Aiden from, plays Call of Duty or a professional Call of Duty player. I understand that. People come to my
Mhm.
stream for me being, I guess somewhat entertaining. And then, I think I've built an entertaining stream where people want to come and want to hang out and there's things to do for them. But I understand that people are not coming there from a stream. So for that, I can't bury my head in my computer and just sit there and play a game. Most people cannot do that. If you're trying to do that, you're wrong. So you need to develop the skill of being able to talk and be able to almost have a conversation with nobody there.
Yeah.
And especially when you're, I get it. Most people probably have one or two people in chat, and there might not even be active in chat. So you're really just talking to talk, and that is a very, very hard skill to develop. You're literally just playing a game, and you have nothing going on in chat. That's difficult, especially when you're sitting there analyzing your, it's in your head. You're like, man, I got 2 viewers. This sucks. I've been
Yeah.
live for 3 hours. Like, I get it. Literally everybody has been there, and it sucks. But you have to develop that skill of just being able to just talk. The best way I explain it is just narrate what you're doing in the game. For me, I'm
Every
always
time.
talking in the game of what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm gonna do next. And not only is that good for the live streaming, but honestly, it's good for content, because a lot of times I'll say something and, say for example, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go for this loadout, right? And then all of a sudden I don't know, break my legs, right? Whatever, it happens every once in a while on my stream. All right. And that's good content though. Like, people,
Yeah.
if you chop that up, well enough to tell a good story, that's good content. People are gonna be like, yo, that was actually super funny. But if I didn't say anything, if I'm just sitting there staring at my computer and I'm like, oh my, not saying anything, that's no longer a clip.
Yeah, dude, I work with a few streamers offline that have come to me for like Twitch advice and that kind of stuff. And I always, always, every single time I go to their stream while I'm on a Discord call with them, and I will click into a random part of their most recent stream. And I always have to ask the same question every single time. Why aren't you talking?
Yeah,
It's been 10 seconds. It's been 30 seconds. It's been 1 minute, and you haven't said a word. I'm watching the VOD and I don't want to be here because nothing is going on. And it sounds so ridiculous. And you feel like a crazy person when you have to sit
you
there and
do.
talk to nobody. But you have to become comfortable being extraordinarily uncomfortable, because then the opposite happens, where what dad said earlier is, if he goes 10 seconds without saying something in his stream, he feels awkward. That, like, he feels like something is wrong, like something shouldn't be there. So it's one of those things where the better you get at it, the more you realize how awkward it is to not be doing it. And if you put yourself in the viewer's shoes, it is going to become 10 times more awkward, because it's literally the exact same as seeing somebody in public and they just stare at you and say nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing. It's like a very, very awkward situation. But like I said, the way that I've gotten better at it is I've put myself in situations where I need to talk constantly. This podcast, for example, we are not scripted. We are not reading off notes. We are not, this is all back and forth, constantly coming up with things to say, reacting to things that have happened, getting our talking points together on the fly. These are all skills that we've practiced over the last 2 or 3 years of streaming, to be able to then come on here and just go back and forth completely natural. It's just one of those skills that after you have it, you just have to continue to use it and continue to get better at it, because it will just make your stream way better in the long run. It'll just make you a better content creator in the long run, because if you take this skill and then apply it to YouTube videos, you're going to have no problem coming up with YouTube stuff to say in your video to last the entire time.
Yeah, I know we briefly talked about this, but I'm super proud of our podcast. The fact that it's unscripted. When we first started kind of talking about this, and before we, even started filming, we had a conversation, and I kind of had the idea of not necessarily scripted, but just kind of like a flow of how it should kind of work. And
Sure.
Pastorgainz was like, no, I really think we should just honestly just be unscripted and kind of like on the whim. And looking at our episodes and, our back and forth, like I'm super proud of the fact that, it's 100% unscripted. I mean, we have a list of episode ideas on here, and it's, we just pick one and we're like, hey, all right, let's do it. We're recording, and
Yeah.
that's it. So,
Yeah.
back to, back to the skills. I think as a content creator, once again, call yourself a content creator. We talked about that before, but as a content
Mhm.
creator, I think the most important skill outside of talking on live stream is you need to learn how to edit. You need, and
Tell them, dude. Tell them.
I don't care what editing software that you use. I'm a big Adobe Premiere guy. I die by it, right? But
Mhm.
Pastorgainz, big DaVinci Resolve guy. He could tell you a bunch of stuff about it, right? We both create the same kind of engaging content. Doesn't matter which software you use. You need to master that software. You need to
Yep.
be on YouTube, and every single time that you see a video on YouTube of that software, whatever software you're using, watch that video. If you haven't learned it yet, go watch it and go learn.
Yep.
So that way, every time you're trying to edit something, you have that already. When I first started using Adobe Premiere, I had to go on YouTube to look up everything that I wanted to do. I had this idea. I didn't even know what it was called. I was like, how do I do a zoom effect, right? And it's really actually simple to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And every single time I needed to do an effect, I had to go to YouTube to learn these things. But I would not have grown to where I am now if I didn't go out and I didn't learn editing. If you have not learned editing, you have to learn editing as a content creator and as a streamer, because let's be real, you're not able to go out and hire an editor. Most people are not able to go out and hire an editor to do this for them. You have to do that for yourself. And once again, you need to be posting on social media, multiple times a day in order to do that. And you have to create that good, engaging content. And for you to do that, you have to go learn editing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. And I don't want people to like already be in the comments. I don't have time to edit. You are lying to yourself. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Now, I'm going to caveat that with I know some people work insane hours. Okay. I've had conversations with streamers that work incredible busy hours, and in their free time and in the time that they can give to streaming, they do. Awesome. This is not for those people. This advice right now that I'm about to say is not for those people. But everybody has 15 minutes in a day where you can sit down and watch a YouTube video on how to edit and how to become a better editor with whatever editing software you are using. I took 15 minutes a day for 9 months straight, and I learned DaVinci Resolve. And I am just scratching the surface to be able to put together a decent YouTube video and a decent TikTok to where it looks like I know how to edit. But there are so many things that I am still learning and still trying to figure out, because I don't know everything about editing. I'm not a master engineer when it comes to editing softwares. Like, I would love to sit here and tell you, like, I could teach a master class on DaVinci Resolve. I can't, but I've learned enough to where I can get by to continue to learn in the background while I'm pressing my skills forward. And I think that's one of the biggest things to realize is like, if you don't know how to video edit, you're not a content creator in the sense of being able to create content on other platforms efficiently. It's just you can tell the content creators that know how to video edit
Yep.
and don't. There's a very, very fine line, especially when getting into the YouTube space. Every creator that I have heard say they have not gotten into YouTube because of X, Y, and Z, that X, Y, and Z is always video editing. So if you can take the time every single day to just sit down for 5, 10, 15 minutes and learn, okay, today I'm going to learn how to do a zoom effect. Today I'm just going to get familiar with what the tabs say and what is in this actual platform, how I can drag my clip on. I'm just going to play around with it and see what I can actually do. Just take the time. Take the time to learn that new skill, because if you don't, you're going to sit there as the same content creator last year as you are this year, and you got to be changing forever as a content creator.
Dude, you mentioned take 15 minutes, out of your day. 100%. I mean, I when I was really in, learning, content creation and editing, I mean, I was doing it for more than 15 minutes. I was literally, just hours on it. But now, I'm kind of with you, Pastor. Like, I've learned enough, but not, I still need to learn more. When I'm on TikTok, listen, there are little 60-second videos from professional video editors out there. And I'll link some in the video below, but there are professional video editors out there that have little 60-second clips to show you guys what what it looks like to do certain effects. And listen,
Yep.
it's little 60 seconds. I swear, every single time I come across these creators, I stop and I watch the entire video. And I'll sit there, and if it's something that, I need for my toolbox later, or something that, really, appeals to me, I'll bookmark it. And then when I'm editing late at night, I'm like, oh, you know what? That's right. There was this, this effect that I wanted to do. I can go back and reference that. But, my TikTok algorithm now is filled with this kind of stuff. It's filled
Yeah.
with video editors, people in film and photography. And every single time I'm like, yo, that's a cool effect. I like how they did that. And I'm going to
Mhm.
bookmark that. And I'm going to bring that on later. And that was literally this little 60-second video that I just got from TikTok. So, it's your TikTok algorithm will adjust, but I encourage people to go on TikTok, or YouTube Shorts, and just look up these things, because there's plenty of creators out there that are showing, tips and tricks for, a little 60-second clip that will honestly help you so much. I mean, there's
Oh, yeah.
been things that I've learned that has saved me God knows how much time in my editing process that I've learned on TikTok. And I'm like, yo, I wish I would have known this 6 months ago, because it would have saved me probably
Yeah.
50% of my time, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't even need to be, you don't need to go to YouTube. Just train your, I guess you can say, train your TikTok algorithm to feed you that kind of content.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you have to do. If you can get your algorithm on TikTok to be feeding you things that you're learning rather than like watching other shenanigans that TikTok has to offer, I promise you, you are just going to become a better content creator in the long run, because you're just absorbing content constantly. You're absorbing how to do different things to make your particular brand or content a lot better, and it's just going to serve you well in the long run. And the other the other skill I think you really need to learn as a content creator, get very familiar with your audio. Get
Oh my
very
God.
familiar with how to do audio.
I
Now,
was thinking the same thing.
I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna pretend I'm an authority on audio. You see this mic right here? This is the Beacon mic. This makes me sound like I am smooth butter melting over flapjacks, okay? But I don't know anything about audio. I know very little about how to actually make my audio sound great, which is why I got a mic that's gonna make me sound exactly how I want to sound. Now, I will say this, I didn't always have this mic. I didn't always have audio that sounded this crisp. You have to figure out, once again, go to YouTube, go to TikTok, figure out people who are doing audio well, and figure out what they're doing, because I had to learn how to put noise gates on. I had to learn how to put filters on the Blue Yeti. I had to learn how to do all this stuff because I needed to sound a certain way in order for my chat to want to stay and listen to me. So get super, super familiar with how your audio works. If you have great audio, but a really, really bad camera, people are going to stay. But if you
Yeah,
have a really, really awesome DSLR camera, but your audio sounds like you're just crackling and popping and cutting out all over the place, people are gone, because the majority of people watch with you on in the background anyway. So they're not even looking at what kind of camera you have. So
100%.
that would be the biggest thing that I am actually currently working on as well, is how to become a better audio engineer to make my stream sound the way I want it to be, rather than hoping and praying that it'll just be fine and that I won't have any issues. Because if you're streaming long enough, you're going to have audio issues. That's just how
Dude,
it goes.
audio is, man, it's still something that I struggle with to this day. I'm pretty set
We
on my
struggled with it
audio.
this afternoon.
Yeah,
We
we
struggled
did.
with it getting the
We
podcast
did. We
going,
really
dude.
did. It's, man, it's such a science, I would say, a science and an
Yeah.
art together, I guess. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but like, it's so difficult to master audio. I don't even say master. I'm with Pastorgainz. I went to YouTube. All right, I got an XLR mic. All right, but just like everybody else, I had no idea like what I was doing with it. I got a Go XLR, and I was like, I'm gonna get an XLR mic. That's that sounds good. So, but I mean, I just went to YouTube and I just looked up, Go XLR Mini setup, and there's plenty of YouTube videos out there. I couldn't
Yep.
tell you, that they try to explain the frequencies, right? All this stuff. Look, all I knew was I knew how I wanted my voice to sound. And so I kind of, took the template of what, I watched multiple videos, and I kind of took the overall template of where it was at. And then I adjusted it based off of how I kind of, want it to sound. So I, went each little frequency, kind of adjusted it and said, okay, that
Mhm.
sounds good. And, overall, I haven't messed with my audio settings, for quite a few months. But then, on the technical side, like, I mean, once again, I mean, it would be awesome if every single stream and every single time we go film a podcast, like I would just hit live and it's like, hey, you know what? We're good with the audio, no
Zero
issues. But
problems, dude.
I promise you, it will be forever. I mean, I just did a live stream the other day where I literally had no audio alerts at all. Couldn't tell you why. I got rated by 1,500 people and I had no audio alerts at all for the follows, for the raid notification, nothing, right?
Oh my
And mind you, like, I mean, I've been doing this for a little bit. I've had some success, right? But
Sure.
I could not figure out why I had no audio alerts. I had audio for everything else, but my actual alerts weren't working. So, you're forever going to have these issues. Unfortunately, we don't have teams of people to figure it out for us, and
Yeah,
we
I
gotta
wish.
learn ourselves and figure it out
Yeah.
for ourselves to better improve our stream and know when something goes wrong. It's like, okay, you know what? Something's going wrong. I got to learn how to fix it on the spot, live as people are watching me. We talked about that before, but and you gotta just be smooth about it and not panic about it.
And I can see it now. I can see it now. The YouTube comments are going to be like, learn audio. Guy doesn't know how to do audio. Shut up, YouTube comments. How many subs do you have? Get out of here. Like, unless you're an audio engineer, don't talk to me. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
What are you talking about, man?
there's literally probably 1% of the population that could be like, I really, say like, hey, you know what? I know audio, right? Most people that get
Sure.
into streaming, you just don't know audio. There's not enough
No.
people. Audio is such a finicky. Like I feel like I can go. I've learned editing. I've learned a lot of OBS stuff, right?
Mhm.
Audio, I don't care how many YouTube videos I watch. Like I don't know enough of it. I know enough to make it sound good. I got my
Yeah.
little sliders here on my Go XLR that I can move up and down from my audio, and
All
I'm
professional
I'm
like, dude.
good, right?
Yeah.
The other, so moving on from audio, the other thing that I want to talk about that you really need to learn is broadcasting software, OBS, Streamlabs.
Yeah, dude.
Man, let me tell you something, dude.
Holy crap.
I knew nothing about the only thing I really knew about Twitch when I first started streaming was it was an app that was on my Xbox, when this was, years ago. But I always
Sure.
remember seeing, Twitch on Xbox, right? So I'm like, all right, like that's how people live. I literally thought that's how people live stream. Like I didn't know, that there's broadcasting software and all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
But I downloaded OBS, and I don't know it was your first time downloading OBS, but I was petrified. I was just like, what did I just
Yeah.
download? I have no idea what I'm doing. And, I probably landed on a Harris Heller, YouTube video showing me how to, organize my scenes or something like that, because I was deathly petrified. I started with Streamlabs OBS, and then I went over to OBS, but they're almost the same.
Sure.
I was petrified, and you have to learn OBS, because you when something goes wrong in your stream, you have to be able to be like, okay, I know where to go in OBS, and I know what to do,
Mhm.
and I know how to fix this right now.
Yeah, dude, it's so important because your entire stream, your entire show, your entire 3 to 5 hours of whatever you're doing is running through this software.
Yeah,
And if you don't know the ins and out of that software, something is going to go wrong. How are you going to fix it?
every
You're just
time.
going to end stream? Like what? I'm going to tell you, when I first started streaming, bro, I started and still use Streamlabs, although I do use OBS for some other stuff. When I first opened Streamlabs, nightmare fuel. It was absolutely ridiculous. There were so many tabs, so many things to click on, so many things to figure out. I recognized one button, and that was go live. I knew
Yep.
that was how I got to live. I didn't know where to input the stream key. I didn't know where to look at the resolution, my audio. I didn't know any of those settings. So over the 3 years that I've been doing this, I've sat down, I fooled around with settings, but be curious. Like if you're trying to learn skills, my biggest advice to you is like be curious about the skill that you're doing. Don't be afraid about messing up, because guess what? You're gonna mess up. You're gonna undo that setting that shouldn't have been undone. But the beauty of that is that you're gonna do it, mess up, figure out how to get it back to where it was, and then now you know how to fix that problem. This this entire streaming journey is learning how to fix the next problem that comes your way. Right as you fix that, you get super confident and another problem arises. That's just how it goes. Like, and
It never
I
ends.
would caveat, yeah, I would caveat that with as well. Like, once I learned Streamlabs, I roughly knew how to use OBS, but OBS is a different beast altogether. There's some similarities, but there's a different setup. It looks like I'm streaming from Windows 95 DOS. Like it
Yep.
just looks different, and there's different sources. Like it was just a different experience. But the fact that I had all that experience using Streamlabs, I was able to then transfer at least a fourth to half of that experience into using OBS, and it was just one thing led to another, and I figured it out. And I think the majority of you learning these skills and learning how to do this content creation is just you stumble into success on accident a lot of the time. It
Yeah.
just and it's fine.
A quick note about the OBS versus Streamlabs. Look, you use what you're comfortable with. Okay.
Yeah, do you.
I know there's so many people out there who are like, use this, use that. Look, use what you are comfortable with. Once you figure out
Yeah.
what software to use, all right, just use that one and stick with it. I will say Streamlabs is, if you're brand new to streaming and you really don't know a lot about broadcasting software, go to Streamlabs. Okay, Streamlabs,
Mhm.
it's very easy. All right, it's user friendly. OBS is amazing software, and whatever, it uses less resources, all that stuff, right? But if you don't know anything about any broadcasting software, go to Streamlabs. All right, use it.
It's me, dude. I
It
don't know anything tech related.
it will it will absolutely. I promise we know what we're doing. I promise we know what we're
for
doing.
sure. For sure.
But no, I mean, just use what you're comfortable with, because don't waste your time into OBS versus Streamlabs. Worry about that, when you're kind of starting to get your feet wet a little bit and you're understanding some of this stuff, and you're like, hey, you know what, I can be comfortable enough to where I can move from Streamlabs over to OBS. I wanted to touch base on maybe a couple skills out there that I don't say abnormal, but I think could benefit streamers. One thing, a lot of my community know, I went out and learned programming. I've created a lot of unique things into my stream that, it doesn't exist on Twitch. I have a lot of people that come into my stream and they're like, dude, you need to sell this to somebody, Streamlabs or Streamlabs or whatever, right? I will say, it's fun. It's fun to learn those things, because now, anytime I have an idea, I'm just like, yo, like, I can make it, I just, I don't need to rely on Streamlabs or Stream Elements, but I will say, don't let, skills like, I've had these conversations with people in my community. Don't let skills like, programming and those sort of things take up your time and your content creation lack in terms of like the amount of content that you're putting out, right? And that's been my problem. Is I spent a very, very, very long time, particularly towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, building out a lot of the stuff in my stream. I mean, I made a game. I called it The Franchise. It was a football game where you build up a team, you play against other viewers. It's really cool. People genuinely loved it. But I mean, I'm not kidding. I would probably guess that I spent at least, I would probably say close to 400 hours making that game. I could have spent that time creating content, and I would have gotten a lot more results and a lot more people coming in to my stream, and my stream would have grown a lot more based off of, the amount of content that I could have created with that time, versus me sitting here spending, 8 to 12 hours, a night, programming a game that now I ended up canceling because, there wasn't enough people playing it. People loved it, but there wasn't enough people playing it, and I'm working on some other stuff. But don't let your content, if you're going to go learn these other skills, like programming or whatever, content creation comes first. Make sure that you're able to produce enough content, and look, figure out a way to make content from it. Like, hey, you know what? This is what I created, and let me show you, right? The other skill that I'm still learning and I still kind of struggle with, graphic design. I cannot stress another shout out to Canva. Listen, Canva, let's talk.
Canva, let's talk for real.
Canva is a lifesaver for this stuff. All right. Listen, a month ago, if you would have told me, hey, you know what, Canva is better than Photoshop, I would have fought with you. All right. Don't get me wrong. Sure. Photoshop is more capable, 100%. All right. But for the average content creator, really for most people, just use Canva. Canva has so many templates on there that you can just import, and then you're just like, all right, you know what? I can just change this, and this. Boom. I've created things on Canva that have, would take me hours on Photoshop. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm far from a master on Photoshop. I'm still learning Photoshop very much, but
Sure.
Photoshop is a very, difficult program, to say the least, to learn. And Canva, I just have an idea and I'm just like, all right, go to it. Our logo for our podcast, I think it took me 10 minutes to make our logo. I just went to Canva,
Yeah.
typed in a few things, boom, drag and drop it into here, boom, boom, and now we got a logo. It would have probably taken me, God knows how long on Photoshop to make that. Graphic design, I don't want to say is essential, but I mean, as you're building out your brand and as you're trying to advertise, your stream and your brand, you're on social media, so you kind of need graphics to be able to, stylize and make your content stand out versus everybody else. What are your thoughts with that?
Dude, yeah, and I don't wanna take credit for introducing you to Canva, but I do feel
Oh,
like at the beginning of your Canva journey, either I was suggesting things or, like, told you that I use Canva,
yeah,
and the best part about that was, like, for the next week, you were just sending me so much Canva stuff, and you were, like, in it to win it, and you're like,
dude.
"Dude, this is so great,
I'm
it's
about to buy stock
amazing."
in it as soon as they go public, bro. I'm buying stock in Canva, dude. Canva,
Bro,
hire me. Let's
it
talk,
was
bro.
nuts. But you're right, like, Canva and graphic design in general, I don't wanna I think you kinda talked about this too, but I don't wanna call them essential skills per se, but they are extraordinarily helpful skills to your content creation journey. Like, for example, Canva is what I use to make YouTube thumbnails. YouTube is what I use to grow my brand. Like, it adds an emphasis. It's like the nice icing and cherry on
Yep.
top to your content creation stuff. And like I said, if you don't know how to do it, look up a video, become a lifelong learner, try to figure out how to get to the next thing, how to do this, that, or the other thing. Like, graphic design is going to help you in so many different facets of your content creation journey, because you can do weird things that you didn't even think about, like make a Twitter banner that looks really, really good that
Yeah.
represents your brand. You can do overlays for your stream and not have to worry about paying somebody on Fiverr to do it. You can do, like I said, your YouTube thumbnails with Canva. If you're doing other graphic design stuff, you can make posts for Facebook and Instagram. Like, the list goes on and on and on. And I think the more comfortable you are with graphic design and the more of an eye you get for it by kind of comparing other people in the space's work to what you're trying to do, you're just going to become better at that and you're going to stand out more. And I think the big thing with graphic design is if you do it well, people are going to recognize you. Like, that's the big thing with
Yeah.
being able to be very good at graphic design, is like you can put yourself above a lot of other people who don't know how to do it based on how well you can make yourself stand out with amazing logos or like really awesome branding or anything along those lines. Like, I've done, I think in my stream stuff, in my brand in general, I've made a bunch of thumbnails for it. I've made all my banners on all my platforms. Like, I've made my Twitch panels with Canva with like graphic design know-how, and
They
I
have
designed all
thousands of
those
those
things.
templates.
Dude, it's unreal, and Canva makes it, like, super, super freaking easy for you to do. I know it sounds like this episode is
Yeah,
sponsored
I was
by
about to
Canva.
say, like, so I'm
It's
not trying to bash Photoshop here, right? Like, look, listen, if you know Photoshop, all right, use Photoshop,
send them
all
in.
right,
Send them in.
use Photoshop because for me, I mean, like I said, I used Photoshop for a very long time and just recently transitioned to Canva. The reason why I love Canva so much is it is just easy to use. It
Yeah.
saves so much time in terms of creating graphics designs versus Photoshop. Once again, it's because I don't know Photoshop like I know, whatever, Adobe Premiere, right? Or like I know
Yeah.
OBS. I'm not that comfortable with it yet. I still have to Google a lot of things that I'm trying to do. But in Canva, I mean, I once again, I mean, it's a fraction of the time that I would spend in Photoshop. But if you know Photoshop, all right, use Photoshop, all right? Use whatever you're comfortable
Yeah.
with. Just know that good graphic design. Anytime you have an idea, I mean, I'm the same way. All my entire overlay, every scene in my overlay, I made in Canva now. I went back and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make everything in Canva because I can
Yep.
make it better. Because they just have templates in there, and I have an idea and I just type it in there, and there it is. It's all stock graphics ready for me to use. I don't have to go to some stock website to download the graphics. It's ready to go. It's just about saving time. That's all it's about for me. I need to be
Yeah.
able to be efficient in what I'm doing. And as a content creator, that's what you should be focusing on as well. I mean, most people don't have the luxury of having a lot of time. And you
Mhm.
need to find the tools necessary for you to be able to save the most amount of time possible and be the, most efficient to be able to pump out, as much content as you possibly can. And for me and for most people, Canva is the answer for that.
Yeah, and I think also the last skill that we'll talk about here that you just reminded me of, and it's so obvious, but unless you actually think about it, it doesn't really show up. As a content creator, you need to be really, really, really good at time management.
Oh my
Time
God.
management and discipline of your time to figure out what you're going to be doing, when you're going to be doing it, and how long it's going to take. The reason that we just harped on Canva for so long for being so awesome is because it saves us so much time. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, but everyone uses that 24 hours different, to where I need to figure out how I can do things the most efficiently and the most time sensitive so I can do a lot of things very, very well. Like what I'm doing currently in my content creation journey is like I'm doing this podcast, I'm doing 2 long form YouTube videos a week, sometimes 3. I'm doing 3 YouTube shorts a day, I'm doing 2 TikToks a day. Like I have to find time for all this stuff, and using these tools and figuring out these tools to where you can do that the most efficient way possible is going to allow you to succeed in the long run. And I think being really, really awesome with your time management and being really disciplined with your time management is one of the big things that separates a lot of content creators from being just okay to really excelling and being kind of a step above the rest.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into this in another episode, but just in terms of balancing content creation with life in general. But you're 100% right. I mean, for me, I don't really have a balance. I said this off camera with Morph, but when I first moved back home, for those in the army, for those that don't know, I'm in the army, and I was stationed in another state away from my family. And I just recently moved back, but when I came back, my wife, I was going to bed like at like 2 a.m. Of course, staying up, I would stream, stay up and edit, and then I would be at work at, I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning to be at work. And I remember one day, one morning, my wife I woke up, and my wife was like, "When do you sleep? Like genuinely, when do you
Yeah.
sleep? Because you're coming to bed at 2 and you're waking up at 5:30. Like, I don't know when you're sleeping." And I'm like, "I don't know when I'm sleeping either." So be better. I mean, there's definitely, I could go about 4 or 5 days with that, and then I usually crash afterwards, and
Yeah.
I gotta sleep for a night. But you're 100% right. I mean, for me, I try to organize, my priorities, right? If I don't have enough content lined up, for example, for a day or two, I know that I need to grind for a night and be able to create content for at least a few days. So that way I have something in my pocket where I'm like, yo, all right, cool. I can sit there. I know I can post enough content. Now maybe I can go create this, new overlay or this new scene in OBS, or I can, once again, go program something that I've been wanting to program, right? But for
Yeah.
me, content is always number one. I have to make sure I have enough content for me to be able to post. I mean, at a minimum for a day. At a minimum for one day, I need to be able to post content, 2 to 3 times on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and be able to grow it out. I mean, it used to be 5 days. I used to build my content out for a week. I no longer have that luxury. Moved back home.
Sure.
Life, in the middle of things. But I mean, content is number one. If I don't have content for the next day, guess what I'm doing? I'm sitting down on my computer and I'm making content. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will stay up. I mean, it's 11:30 on a Thursday night. We're filming back to back to back, episodes of our podcast. Guess what? I gotta be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at work,
Mhm.
and and be, do life things, right? But I know I need to be able to do that or do this to be able to, continue that grind, continue that growth that I've had, and sustain my growth over the course of time.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's funny because we will get into this in another episode because you touched on it a little bit, but like the family life streaming balance, it's a joke.
Yeah, what is
There's
it?
no
It's
balance.
12:30. It's midnight for you, right? 12:30
Yeah,
a.m., right?
it's 12:40 a.m. in the morning, and we are going strong on this because, but that's just it's what it takes. It's what it takes for us personally to do this. What we'll call labor of love or this passion project that we're doing because we enjoy it and like we
Yep.
want this to be another avenue for our content, and we want to be able to um, provide this type of thing that not a whole lot of people are doing. It's going to set us apart. It's going to set us in a place where people are like, oh shoot, you have a podcast. Like, how do you do that? And then we can make content on how to do a
We don't sleep.
podcast.
That's how we do that.
Yeah, I'm on caffeine. I have not slept in 2 days. It's been great.
Yo, thank you again for listening to the episode. Once again, Dad the Gamer here with Pastor Gaines. Appreciate all the love and support you guys give. You guys can find myself at twitch.tv/Dad the Gamer. You guys can find the podcast across all social media platforms. Just look up the live button. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, and Apple. And Pastor Gaines, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at every single platform imaginable. Twitch, you just search Pastor Gains. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. It's I am Pastor Gains. It's the exact same handle for all four. But that's going to be it for us for this current episode, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day, night, or morning, whichever time you are listening to this. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.